Hi, welkom bij de Mooie Mensen podcast. En voordat deze podcast echt van start gaat, wil ik alvast heel hartelijk de mensen bedanken die een donatie hebben gedaan voor mijn crowdfunding actie. Je kunt me natuurlijk ook doneren via mooiemensenpodcast.nl. Alvast heel erg bedankt. Hey, hallo. Kiki Schepens hier van de Mooie Mensen podcast. En leuk dat je weer kijkt of luistert. Ik zou zeggen, als je kijkt via YouTube, zet dan even de ondertiteling aan, want deze podcast is in het Engels. Ik ga in gesprek met een Amerikaan uit de Bronx. En mijn eigen Engels, ik klink als een Londenaar. Maar goed, blijf kijken tot het eind. Laat weten wat je ervan vindt. Abonneer je op mijn podcast, kan via Apple, Android, YouTube en op mijn nieuwsbrief. En dan wens ik je heel veel kijk- en of luisterplezier.
Is that the amazing Kiki?
Good morning.
Man, you look great. You look like a star.
Well, thank you. I think, I'd rather consider you as a star.
No, I am not a star. I mean, you look really cool, man. I dig the shades and the hair.
Well, thanks. But I thought I'd bring a smile on your face, so I put my sunglasses off.
Sounds good. How are you?
Well, my brain is working all right, but my body is a mess, Frank.
Yeah, that's tough. But you know something? Life is just filled with those challenges, and you got to keep fighting.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is a new episode of the Beautiful People podcast, also called as the Mooie Mensen podcast. Today, I'm going to talk again to Mr. Frank Ahearn, the blackmail expert. And last week, I said to Frank, shall we do another podcast again? And then you said, Frank, well, let's have a Q&A. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So welcome into my podcast again.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you and fun to chat with you.
And you. So I'm very curious, how are you doing?
I'm alive and kicking, so I can't complain. And, you know, I'm traveling. I always travel, which I love to travel. So, I mean, I have a very fortunate life. So, you know, I mean, listen, life is good. I have a good business. I'm good at what I do. And, you know, it affords me to live the life that I want in the traveling, because to me, traveling is everything. And so here I am.
Yeah. So for everybody who missed episode 45, in which you explain what you do as being a blackmail expert and helping people out from blackmailing, extortion, sextortion, stuff like that, right?
Exactly. If you have had a personal indiscretion, I can fix it for you.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. And many of us at times in life make mistakes and connect with the wrong people and do dumb things. And so Frank is a fixer of dumb things.
Well, dumb things of, I don't know if it's dumb, you know.
Well, I don't know. I'm just being lighthearted. I mean, it's such a dark world that sometimes you have to just make light of it.
Yeah. Do you know what I appreciate so much? When I was about to publish my book, I contacted you and said, hi, Mr. Hearn, my name's Kiki from the Netherlands. I'm about to publish a book about sextortion. And then you immediately responded. And what people don't know is we've always kept in touch. Even now, 4 years later. Oh, I appreciate your friendship, Frank.
Yeah, same here. Wow, 4 years gone quickly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you're a super person, and I enjoy meeting people and networking in that sense. And, you know, people come into your life in the, you know, most unique fashion. And I also think it's the beauty of like living in Europe. You know, you have a friend in this country, and this country, and this country, and it's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Well, I think probably you also need it. I mean, if you are in touch with people who are in very deep trouble, it's nice to meet, at the other hand, people who are not in trouble, who bring
Good
joy
point.
to life.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because, you know, I was traveling with a friend of mine, and I was saying, you know, when I'm out publicly, I don't talk about what I do. People ask me what I do. Sometimes I say I paint houses for a living, because once I mention what I do for a living, the conversation is just all about that. And like, there's like just no escape from it. And so it's always kind of nice to just chat with people who don't care about what I do for a living.
Yeah, and it's got to be about you, about the person, Frank. Well, it not does not
I
only
wouldn't go that far.
you.
I mean,
Yeah,
just not about work because, I'm always faced with, you know, work.
yeah. But when you meet people, do you never tell them about your books because you've written several books?
No, I don't tell. No, if I'm out socially, I don't really discuss what I do or the things I've done. I I just kind of, I'm a house painter, or something else because it's just not really what I want to get into with strangers because once I get into it and they talk about I disappeared people and I'm a social engineer and skip trace I found people and next thing you know I'm just like dominating this conversation and it's just no escape for me and I'm just not really interested in doing that. I don't really have the need to kind of share that with people.
No. Well, what my
But
experience.
then again, because then you tell them all this stuff, they just think you're some sort of dubious character. Yeah.
True, you're true. I
Yeah.
recognise that. If I tell people I once wrote a book about sextortion, people look at me and think like, did that happen to you? And I said, well, it didn't happen to me, but it happened in my environment. And but there's always this strange reaction, and there's also this victim blaming of why why did you come up with your story? Why? And then I think, well, I needed to spread the word to recognize that.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think if you're not involved in the industry, it's very misunderstood. Like when I was like skip tracing and finding people for a living, people be like, "Oh, yeah, it's easy to find people on Google." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not hunting people who are on Google." You know what I'm saying? Or talk about like privacy. People, are like, I know how to remove my content. I just do things on such a very different level, and it's like, sometimes I'm just not interested in like stupid comments. And then if I talk about blackmail with people not in the industry, they're like, what kind of idiots do that? That would never happen to me. And I'm like, yeah, every one of my clients never thought it would happen to them, but you know something?
Mm.
It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, true, true. And the internet is not really very helpful.
No, you have a problem on the internet. There's literally, the search engines or the social media sites, they don't do anything to help people. I mean,
Yeah,
I sometimes, because one of the things I do is, work to get down, compromising photos or videos of people from various social media sites. And sometimes it just takes forever because you can't pick up the phone and call anybody.
no, you can't. No. But what surprises me, well, it doesn't surprise me, but the damage that is done by the people who are so bad in extortion, there's so much damage done,
Yeah.
families, marriages, everything. It's horrible.
Yeah, but if you contact Frank M. Ahearn, he will prevent the damages from being done. That's my expertise. I mean, listen, there are times people do get exposed. It's rare, but it really depends on the type of blackmail you find yourself involved in.
Yeah,
But when that exposure happens, it's devastating.
it
And
is.
for some, it's very difficult to come back from. I mean, it's a terrible thing to listen. You make a mistake and you send compromising photos or share photos, with someone you think you love or care about, and then all of a sudden they decide to expose you. It's a terrible, terrible thing to do.
They scare the hell out of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's an act of personal terrorism.
It is. Yes, it is. But for how many years have you been doing this job as being a
I,
private consultant?
I've been dealing with in this various types of acts of indiscretions for like 25 years or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, cool.
I mean, the things I've seen are just like crazy. But I think, humans, I think it really just comes down to, the human condition. I
Hmm.
mean, we never really know anybody,
Yeah.
and I don't care. Everybody has secrets, even you. We all have secrets. We all have desires. Sometimes we can share those desires with partners, and sometimes we can't. So sometimes we go outside of the partner. And the problem is when you go outside the partner and you pick the wrong person to share those secrets with or those desires or fantasies, that's when it is dangerous because you might be getting involved with the wrong person. So I mean, I'm not judgmental. I just learned that people are people and mistakes can happen to anybody.
Yeah. But it does hurt. One, it doesn't only hurt, it can really be devastating for
Well,
everybody.
I mean, to become a victim of blackmail is terrifying because you're there's this person who has this thing that could destroy your life at any moment, any given moment. And it's a very difficult thing to function knowing.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes people don't realize that, and sometimes the problem is too, when you're a victim of blackmail, when you search online, you really don't know what blackmail help is. You'll read these message boards that say block and ignore. It's like you block and ignore, you're going to be exposed. Law enforcement will tell you block and ignore. Same thing. There's no help from law enforcement either. And then you have blackmail services like mine. What I do. There's 10 other companies out there, and some of them are good, some of them aren't. You
Hmm.
just don't know who you're getting or what blackmail help is, and it's not cheap. That's the other thing, because I'm taking over your blackmail, posing as you, and I'm taking this thing on for a
Hmm.
month's 2 months time, and it's a battle.
Yeah,
So it really disrupts a person's life.
it does. But I think that's one of the things you and I have got in common. We both make podcasts, we write newsletters, because, of course, we both have got a fee. But for all those who can't afford the fee, please watch the videos, please read the newsletters.
Right. I mean, listen, I wrote a blackmail book that will help people get through it, independently. But nobody wants to do it alone, and that's the difficult part. You have to stand up and fight, and that's what it comes down to.
I think it's pretty hard to do this on your own. Let's not say probably impossible to do this on your own.
No, listen. If you follow my strategy of
Mm,
how to combat blackmail, you can get out of it independently. And
mm,
that's the mistake that the blackmail companies make. They scare people into using their services. I don't frighten anybody into using my services. This is what I do. This is what I charge. You can do this on your own. The difference is, and where it becomes difficult, is that it's just so stressful for a person to do on their own
yeah,
because they don't know how to back a blackmailer off. They don't know what a real threat is compared to a fake threat. So, with me, I mean, I can deal with, I have like a really high stress tolerance.
mm,
And so I can deal with these individuals, and I know how to read individuals. And, so the average person just doesn't have those skill sets. But that's not to say that they can't combat it on their own if they follow the strategy.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the difference between you and me. What I particularly do is to support people emotionally, to help them to get further in life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To leave it behind and move on, because you've got to move on. You've got to see a way to find the sense of life.
Interesting. So are you like doing like coach work of some
Yeah,
sorts? I mean,
yeah, yeah. But because I've wrote the book about sextortion and also
mhm.
survived 3 suicides in my nearly environment. There's also some group of people, um, domestic violence. They contact
Mhm.
me and I help them to get their life back on track. But
Yeah, that's the difficult part is,
yeah,
women who are involved in domestic violence, because unfortunately they don't have a lot of options, especially if they have children,
mm,
and it's really awkward.
it is. And there's also the systems, at least in the Netherlands, who are not always, you know, they learn what they've learned in the books, but
Hmm.
my opinion is they've got too less knowledge about narcissism, psychopathy. So believe they don't believe the victim. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think even believing the victim, I think one of the problems is the resources, to help, and so like, because typically men get involved in blackmail, women get involved in romance scams. Okay.
Yeah, most.
And sometimes romance scams for women can evolve into blackmail. And ironically, when it comes to men dealing with blackmail, they can almost always get the funds to pay me to deal with the blackmail. When it comes to, married women,
Mhm.
they find it difficult to get the funds because of their situation, because they're housewives and whatnot. And, even women who are in abusive relationships, the resources to leave, they just don't have that. And it's,
Yeah.
it's hard to deal with.
Yes, and always even it's even more difficult if there are children involved.
Right. Yeah. Because, sometimes women will contact me in an abusive relationship. They're looking to disappear. And the problem is they have children. I'm like, look, I can't get involved with that, because if I help you do that, I'm helping you abduct your child,
Yeah,
and it's illegal for me to do that. The other problem is they don't have the finances to pick up and go.
no, no. Well, but at least it's good to know that there are people in the world like you who are helping other people. How does it make you feel to help other people?
Well, unfortunately, to be honest with you, with the women in those situations, I don't feel like I really help, because I don't really have anything to offer. Or, I just try to refer them to, the best possible, resources in their city or country.
Hmm.
Uh, as far as the idea of helping people out of blackmail, eh, I don't see it, in the sense that I feel good about it or anything like that. I just see that I'm just more this hired gun, that I have this ability to, come in and just do what I got to do, and boom. And it's not like, great job, Frank. I don't see it like, I pat myself on the back. I just come in, I do what I got to do, and resolve the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as like that superhero sense of doing good or anything like that.
Well, I think you're
Because, I
good.
mean, look, I charge for a service. I mean, it's a business.
It is, but I can imagine, I don't know if that's true, but I'd like to ask you, um, sometimes even after a few months or years, do you still have contact with former victims, or do they contact you like, I
No, typically, once I do the service, I'm the last person they want to hear from, because they want this out of their life. They don't want to remember it, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, I can
So
imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, yeah,
it's just, I mean, I get some people who email me thanking me, and I really appreciate what I've done for them. But I really just think it comes down to that they just want it over and done with, and
yeah,
every memory out of their life.
yeah, because it can be very traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think to become a victim of blackmail is one of the most traumatic things to happen.
yeah.
Because sometimes blackmailers will focus on or target particular ethnic and religious individuals. Like, sometimes I worked this one case where, a couple of cases where they were targeting these young Japanese men in medical school. And, if the content got out, it would be just total shame to their family.
Mm,
Another situation was where these black males were targeting young Indian men, you know, and
mm,
another situation where they were they were targeting, young gay Muslim men,
yeah,
you know. And so knowing that if this got out, it would just destroy their reputations with their families.
Yeah, I recognize that also with Muslim women.
Yeah, I've worked several cases. I worked cases with Muslim women where it wasn't even a question of sending naked photos. It was just more of a question of communications at times where just the communications alone would have just been, an embarrassment to the family and things like that.
Yeah.
So there are blackmailers who target cultural and religious individuals.
Yes, there are. Yeah. You don't want to know how many times a week I receive messages from a doctor or a sheikh saying how beautiful I am. They want to get in touch with me, and I think, oh, this is a scammer. It's just fake. And I don't have to tell you, but to me, it's so obvious that they are scammers.
Listen, number one, if it's too good to be true, it is.
Yeah.
Number two, you have to say to yourself, out of all the people on the internet, why are they contacting me?
Yeah.
And I'll work some of these, blackmail cases where, these guys connect with like these super beautiful model looking women. And, they're like these average looking guys. And I'm thinking, where in your head do you think this woman wants to, be with you? And
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't equate. But the men they need to find out. They just need to know. And that need to know and that desire and that hope for like instant gratification is the downfall.
Yeah. What I always notice is they've got hardly any connections. And then I think if you're a sheikh, a CEO, then you should at least have thousands of connections, which they
Yeah,
don't.
it's funny. One of the telltale signs of social media, fake social media accounts, specifically on Facebook, is if you look at a person's friends, they will not have family members. There'll be no friends that share the same surname. And the pictures will always be limited. It's unfortunate, but with the romance scam work, and I say this in the sense that women typically become victims of romance scams. So I'm not being sexist. Men become victims of blackmail, but they just don't take the time to really search if the person's real or fake. There is one way that you could solve your problem by having a video with the person immediately. You say to them, hey, listen, let's have a quick video. Have a 5-minute video. You ask them questions that they can answer. They move their lips and things like that. But the person will say, no, I'm working on an oil rig and the oil rig will blow up if we video, or I can't have a video, I'm bad, sir. And if every man wants to have a video with a woman, that's just the way it is. If a man refuses to have a video with you, there's a problem with that.
That's a red flag, definitely.
It's a huge red flag. Yeah. And something, and digital relationships move very quickly, and love happens like that. And because of the accessibility, and they love bomb you, and next thing you know, you're in love 2 weeks later. But you've never had a video call, you've never had a telephone call, you don't know what they sound like, you don't know what they look like, and you start believing everything.
Yeah. Well, the fun thing is, you say on Facebook, I've got a Facebook account, Frank, but I've got 0 friends on it because I was just sick and tired of Facebook. People assuming things, strange people want to contact you, want something from you. So I just decided 0 friends. I'm posting things, but if I post something about sextortion, and even so on Instagram, I get banned. What's your experience with that?
Well, I don't use Facebook. I don't have a Facebook page. I think the problem is, some things are just misconstrued. They're picking up keywords to what you're doing, and they think it's, just sex.
Yeah.
I've had issues, same thing with my Google advertising using the word blackmail. And it's like, if you look at my website, I'm teaching people how to avoid blackmail and how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
but they don't go that far. They just look at it for face value, what it is, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But, that's the crappy thing when it comes to the social media sites and the search engines is, you can't get on the phone and say, hey, listen, this is the problem. I mean, I've been having, a huge problem where people have been attacking my Google ads with bots, right? And nobody helps. That's the crappy part of doing business with, social media.
Yeah. I had to upload my ID several times just to prove that I'm a real person, that I'm not faking, that I'm a speaker, writer, author, everything. And they just refuse to post my things or to even apologize. While sextortion is a worldwide cybercrime.
Yeah, and the problem is, I think once you're identified with it, it just doesn't get any better.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But another fun thing is, last week on Twitter, on X, I reposted one of your movies, and then someone who I know said to me, Kiki, please be careful because you never know who's behind it. Do you know this man? And I answered, yes, don't worry.
Yes.
I know him. I know it's a real account. And that was rather funny. But I know it's really you on X.
Yeah, so it's also, when I do business with clients, I always say, listen, before you pay for my services, let's have a video so you see I'm the person. I'm real. I'm the person. Things like that. I think in a weird sort of way, the internet has just removed the brain cell that says confirm information. And confirming is just really important.
It is. It is.
Because I get messages from people all the time, and I know that they're blackmailers and they're scammers. Like I just got one this morning where this person needs my help, and I'm like, give me your number, I'll give you a call, and then they're gone. They just don't, So, yeah.
Is that a reason why I in the time I emailed you and you asked me, can we please have a video conversation? Because that's exactly what you did.
Oh yeah. I always have this philosophy. In my world, you're either cop, criminal, or crazy until proven otherwise. And so, yeah, I'm just, number one, I'm not interested in wasting my time, and I'm just not interested. If you can't have a video with me, then we have nothing to say as far as I'm concerned. And there are people who will contact me. They need my help, and they'll send me like this detailed information. I'll say, okay, great, let's have a video. And they're like, well, I really don't feel comfortable doing that. And I'm like, well, I can't help you.
Well, I think I've proven you wrong.
Yes, you are real.
I am. But it's particularly what you say. Sometimes people ask me for help, and I say, well, let's get to meet each other and set up a video meeting. And then there's a no-show. They don't show up. That always something can happen, but if you can't show up at a video meeting, at least the least thing you could do is apologize and make another appointment, right? Or
right.
Yeah, right. So how's everything going with your books? Is there another book coming out?
Not at the moment. I'm thinking about like what next, what next I want to write about, and without regurgitating the same information, because I think half the stuff that I write is just a regurgitate. My videos are just regurgitations and just trying to, because it's not like somebody reads about blackmail for like pleasure, So I don't know. The books are really not that important to me, to be honest with you. It's just, look, everybody wants to publish a book, and they think it's like this amazing thing, publish a book. But the truth of it is, publishers suck. Okay. And I just think, well, a number of reasons. They take a huge percentage of your sales. And the truth of the matter is, if you have a good marketing structure, you could just self-publish your own book, and if you can market it properly and advertise, you can do better than going to a publisher. I mean, they're just basically lawyers with printing presses. That's all they are.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have that need to do that. You know, I'd rather just do, you know, I do like a lot of TV in Germany for news, and I do a lot of media in Germany. So, you know, I like that aspect of things.
Yeah. And do you mean media in Germany? Is that interviews or on a telly
In
or?
the Yeah, I do. You know, a lot of like, you know, I'll fly there and do like news shows and stuff like that about like various topics. You know, right now the big topic is I think her name is Daniela Klett. She was the woman who was part of the RAF and the Red Army faction that uh, she disappeared for like 20, 25 years. And they just recently found her and arrested her in Berlin. She was like living openly.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just, you know, they're now tracking down all these other, you know, terrorists and things like that. So
Yeah.
I do a lot of media about like disappearing and how to disappear.
Oh,
And
cool.
nobody cares about doing media about blackmail. You know, because the problem with media, they always want to talk to my clients, and
Mm-hmm.
I never do that. You know, and I'm like, you know, I wouldn't be much of a privacy expert if I introduced my clients to media, and
No.
I would never insult a client of mine and say, hey, listen, would you speak to this journalist? So,
No, no, I understand that. A few months ago, there was this journalist and he was looking for victims of sextortion, and there was a deadline. So I said to him, listen, geezer, I can tell you now, you're not going to find anybody, any victim who wants to talk to you with the photograph or everything. So the only option you've got is do an interview with me. And then it was
mhm.
laughing and said, well, KK, I think you're right. Let's do the interview because victims, and I can understand, they won't go for an interview. They're afraid, which is
Yeah,
completely
well, sometimes
understandable.
the journalists will say, well, you know, I don't have to speak to them. I can just email them. I'm like, yeah, I could just email you, you know, fake email you, but I'm not going to do that. I mean, listen, if you want to do an interview, this is it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, let's spread the word. Of course, that's important. Keep spreading the
But
word.
yeah, but a lot of the media that I do happens to be about disappearing, how to disappear, you know, and like, you know, there's cases like the crypto queen in the UK and
Mm-hmm.
also Jan Marsalek in Germany and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of work in Germany for some odd reason.
What's all about that?
It's just weird. I'm kind of like popular there, you know.
Yeah, well, probably because you're good, because they like you, they like what you're doing. Don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just strange.
Yeah, but
They're actually very, you know, German culture is very privacy conscious culture.
yes, it's rather close. German people, when you first meet them, is my experience, they're rather
Yeah,
close.
yeah. I like Germany. I also like the Netherlands too. I love Amsterdam. One of my favorite cities. Great restaurants.
True. It's also one of the dirtiest cities in the Netherlands.
I grew up in the Bronx, so dirt doesn't bother me. I don't judge a city on its cleanliness though. Uh, I just, you know, to me, it's about, you know, whether they got good pizza, good chicken wings,
Yeah. Well,
and
have you
that's
ever
it.
been to Rotterdam?
I haven't been to Rotterdam.
Oh, you should do so.
Yeah, there's just so many places to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's on your wish list? Have you got any things on your wish list?
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't really have a. I do what I want to do, so it's not like I'm like, oh, I hope I or wish I could do this, you know. I just like to travel and, you know, just hitting different places, and I'm debating whether I'm going to hop on a train in Vienna and take the train through Zurich or take a train down to Slovenia.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have a lot of freedom, and the only reason I do all this stuff is so I can have this freedom. That's what
Yeah.
life is about for me.
Freedom is one of the most important things in life.
I just kind of go my own way and live my own life.
Yeah, well, off you go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What I mean with freedom, freedom of speech is as long as you don't insult other people or hurt other people. I mean, that is really important. And even because, well, let me speak for myself.
Yeah, but there are some people who think freedom of speech is the ability to express racist, opinions, or things like that, or dangerous opinions, and is that
Yeah,
really freedom of speech?
that's not what I mean. No.
No, I know that's not what you mean, but there are those who do mean it that way.
Yeah. It's just once you're a writer and a public speaker, your brain has always been so creative. You want to speak out. You want to write, but I can't write at the moment. But oh, please, I'm so pleased. I'm not deaf or blind, or So I consider
Mhm.
myself lucky to have the freedom of speech in the way I mean it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I don't know, I find myself extremely fortunate in life, that, yeah, I've been living in Europe like, 10 years at this point, and I love it,
Hmm.
and I love the freedom that I have here, when it comes to travel and meeting people. And, um, I mean, I see freedom in that sense, to me, that's more important than being able to necessarily express my opinions. I'm more interested in the freedoms that I can do.
Yeah, yeah, good for you.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got a big tattoo on the back that says freedom.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I never, I never saw it, but well, never mind.
You're blushing.
Oh, probably, yeah. I was going to say something, but I'm not. Sorry.
Good. Say it. Say it.
No.
All right. After we're done, I'll ask you. You'll tell me all about it.
Say it again, please.
When we're done chatting, I'll ask you what you're going to say. You'll tell me.
Okay, then I will. I will. Sorry. If I laugh, oh, my ribs are really hurt. Really.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, no, yeah, but laughing is healthy, so you always make me
Laughing is very healthy.
smile. Yeah. So what are your plans for today?
Okay. So here's my plans. Okay. I have to leave where I'm at tomorrow morning.
Hmm.
And so I'm gonna rip up some pieces of paper, and I'm gonna put a city on this piece of paper, city on that piece of paper, and city on that piece of paper. And I'm gonna crumble them up, and I'm gonna pick one, and that's where I'm going tomorrow. You know, either towards Zurich or towards Slovenia.
Wow.
Um, I'll do some writing today. Post on my blog because I find that important. Gonna wander around. Got to find some pizza because no matter where I go, I always eat some pizza. And I have some calls to make for some clients, and just you know whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Is it your favorite food, pizzas?
I love pizza, but the truth of the matter is, you know, most pizza, as being from New York, I'm a pizza snob,
Hmm.
and so I'm very particular whether the pizza's any good. Like I was just in Vienna, had pizza there, and it was like slop. It was just horrible. Um, but there are some places, some cities that have just a great pizza, and so my thing is always trying to discover great pizza. But I was here last night, and I got some great buffalo wings. Can't
Hmm.
complain about that. So I mean, people travel the city to go to museums. I go for the pizza. So, uh, I'm pretty basic in that sense.
Yeah,
But
but
the interesting thing about my day is I just never know what's going to happen based upon the calls. Because that's really what it comes down to is I just got to wait for people to contact me,
yeah,
and then I got to put on my superhero cape and play superhero.
yeah. Well, if you need a good pizza restaurant, I can advise you someone in Gran Canaria, Mas Palomas. I've ate the
Ah,
best pizzas ever there.
Really?
Yeah. Every time I go there, it's a real Italian restaurant. Best pizza ever.
I lived in Madrid for several years, and they had like the worst pizza in the world.
Well, you never know. Even maybe in a few years' time, we both end up in Gran Canaria. We'll have a pizza there. How about that?
That sounds good. That sounds good. That's a
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Or maybe Rotterdam.
Well, maybe. Yeah. I know a few good restaurants there too. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, Frank. Yeah. Would be nice to meet you in real life.
That'd be great. Absolutely.
Good.
Listen, it was a pleasure. I appreciate chatting.
Yeah. Well, I like talking to you again.
I'm
I,
always around anytime,
yeah. Yeah. Have you got a message for my viewers or listeners?
Ah, yeah. If you're a woman, don't send money to strangers online. And if you're a man, don't send compromising photos online.
No.
And if you take that advice, you will not have to pay me thousands of dollars and euros to help you. That's my message. It's
Thank
a pretty simple message.
Yes. Yes. But it's also, well, it's a serious one, but also it made me smile because I also think it's
Yeah.
a funny thing and it suits you.
Listen,
Yes.
it takes a second to press the send button to ruin your life. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The minute you press send, you have no control over that money you sent out there or those photos or videos. Well, all kidding aside, it takes that boom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So let's keep up the good work and warn people and speak out loud.
You too. Thanks a lot and have a wonderful day.
And you, Frank. Well, thank you again for joining my podcast and wish you all the best. We'll stay in touch. And
Great. Thanks. Anytime.
well, thank you again. And to all my listeners and viewers, please stay tuned. Listen to my podcast due to Apple, Android, Podimo, YouTube, whatever. Follow my newsletter and see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye, Frank.
Bye.
Bye. But you're posting a lot lately, like movies on Twitter, on X.
Yeah, you're my biggest fan too.
Well, that might be an interesting subject to talk about in a few minutes.
I'm ready and willing to talk. Exactly.
Yeah.
God, you look great. You really do.
Well, thanks. Well, the thing is, if I want to become a pigeon, I don't want to become a pigeon. I can suffer from pain, but I don't want to become a moaning woman because
Yeah.
there's loads of moaning women and men. I don't want to become one of them.
At least not moaning for the wrong reasons.
No, no. And
If you're gonna moan, you got to moan for the right reasons.
yeah, but if I ever turn up being a moaning woman, please tell me because I
I will
don't.
smack you in the back of the head.
You may. You may.
All right, let's rock and roll. Let's get rolling. Let's do this thing.